right, so second grade, today is your field trip day. We are out here at Eagle Creek. Eagle Creek is right behind Edgewood Middle School. And what we're looking at is a creek where the water is going to be flowing right behind me. This is the environment all around it. We also have a walking path that leads into this creek area. But Eagle Creek is a place that we like to study to be able to investigate how clean is this water and how clean is this environment around it. So as you look behind me, not only looking at the water, which we're going to investigate a little bit more, but also looking at the environment around us, the trees, the plant life, and to see how much of it is natural, how much of it has been disturbed by man as we have kind of made this place a place to study, but trying to, again, evaluate how clean and how healthy is this area. So beyond just looking at what we see around us, we're also going to be getting into the water to see what types of bugs we can find, those macroinvertebrates that tell us about the water. And then the other thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna also look at how fast is that water moving, because how fast the water is moving also is a puzzle piece about how clean this area and this water is. So let's go check it out.
All right, boys and girls, I'm ready for Creek Day. I'm dressed up for success. It's a bit chilly out here today. You know, it's about maybe 50 degrees or so. And I'm sure the water temperature, isn't like bathtub water. So one reason I'm wearing this outfit is to keep me dry, but also to keep me warm. These waders, as they're called, are also a little bit insulated, so they keep me warm and dry, just as you would put on like a pair of snow pants or something like that. This is called a dip net. I use this to dip into the creek to find those macroinvertebrates. I can unlock it and extend it fully and relock it again so that I'm ready to find all of those macros along the creek edge. This tool will be really helpful at the end to try to see those macroinvertebrates up close and personal. Let's go, boys and girls. Boys and girls, as we're looking through here, I've learned from the best, Mr. Burden here, but when you're looking, for these great macroinvertebrates, this right here can really be a great home. I mean, we have leaves that are kind of getting hung up on this down branch right here. And what a great hiding place for some of these macroinvertebrates. They have so many predators out here. They want to stay hidden and protected. Boys and girls, this is a really interesting find. Look at this right here. Isn't this beautiful? This clam mussel right here. So you'll notice a couple things about the clam mussel. It has this hinge right here, and there would be another piece to this, and the mussel would live inside here. Yes, believe it or not, boys and girls, mussels are alive, at least on the inside they are. And now, boys and girls, there's a special type of mussel that exists out here at Eagle Creek, and it's very rare and endangered. This isn't one, but it's called a three-ridge mussel. And it's called that because you'll see these ridges running along this axis of the mussel itself. Let's keep looking, boys and girls, and see what we can find.
All right, so boys and girls, one of the things that we all as scientists have to understand is that when we go out to do these field studies and we go out to look for macroinvertebrates, there are times when we come out where we don't have as much success as what we would like. And that we have to understand the reason or the cause behind it. So here in Warsaw, if you woke up as I did at about 12:30 last night, there was a storm that blew through, and with it came a lot of heavy rain. And when we have heavy rain like that, that disrupts and changes the environment and the living habitat for a lot of these macroinvertebrates that call this place home. It's wild is that the water actually feels warmer when my hands are in the water as opposed to when they're out, just because the air temperature actually feels cooler than the water does. And that's because of that change in weather. Second grade, you guys spend a lot of time studying weather and the impacts of weather. Well, the impact of our weather last night really changed the habitat in this area for a lot of the macroinvertebrates that we're looking to collect. So we may not have as much success today, because the water is moving a lot faster than what it was yesterday, and we have a new impact to the environment as we had a heavy rain that changed some of the ways that the stream was moving, and it changed where a lot of these macroinvertebrates may have been hiding as they were washed further downstream, or they were taken further down, or maybe they've even found a more burrowed, better hiding place than where they were. So it's one of the challenges as a scientist is understanding the environment around you, because that makes a big impact on what we're able to do and what we're able to study as we go out into the stream. So here's one of the macroinvertebrates that we did find. This guy's pretty small for his size, but in his tail, you can see just in the back, kind of hard to see, but I think he's got it clumped together. I believe this is a damselfly. If he was in water, you would actually see his tail kind of spring up almost like a scorpion. And so that's a great indicator, or way to be able to tell this macroinvertebrate based on how he arches his tail in the water. Boys and girls, so another strategy that we use as scientists to be able to better understand how healthy this creek is that we use what we call the physical properties. Physical properties are everything from what we see around us. When we look at the stream and we look at all the plant life that's around it, we can see that not too far past the tree line, there's an apartment complex that's stationed behind it. So that impacts how healthy this creek is. When we look behind where Mr. Wall is at, we can see that there's a lot more vegetation behind it. It's much thicker, which is great for a stream like this. When we look at the stream too, we see some other impacts. We see fallen logs. We see areas where the stream bends. It's not a straight line. So when we look at all these different factors, they impact their puzzle pieces that, again, tell us as to the big picture of how healthy this creek is. A strategy like I was mentioning that helps us better understand the physical is by looking at and measuring what we call flow rate. Flow rate is talking about how fast the water is moving down the creek. Now, we can tell based on some of the shadowing and the riffling that's happening on the surface as to how fast the water is moving just by looking at it with our sight. But scientists, they will do a lot of measurements. They'll use time, they'll measure distance, and they'll find what we call the velocity, or how fast that stream is moving. To help you better understand that, scientists will also use a tool such as a tennis ball to help them visualize and be able to see how fast the stream is moving. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to drop the tennis ball in. We're gonna let it go about 10 meters, which is gonna be about right where those down logs are. And we're gonna see how fast this tennis ball gets down there. And to do that, what I wanna do is I wanna kinda go to about the center of the stream, and I wanna make sure that this tennis ball is gonna be dropped about center place. And then when I let it go, I want to be able to watch and to see, is it moving fast or is it moving slow as it gets its way down to the down log? So here we go. Now, I'll tell you from experience out of here at Eagle Creek, that tennis ball is moving very fast. And again, I know it doesn't seem like it's moving fast, but just based on experiences out here in the past, I can tell you that that is moving a lot faster than normal. And again, that brings up something else. Scientists use trends. Trends are patterns over time. So when we think about data and information about this tennis ball moving down the creek, I can compare it to other experiences that I have out at the creek. So if I've been out here earlier this year, or I look back to my days in first grade or kindergarten, and I see that every time I've been out here that the tennis ball has moved down the creek and it's taken it 30 seconds to get down to the down logs. Well then, if this time when I'm out here and it takes it only 10 to 15 seconds to get down to the down logs, then that tells me that this stream is moving faster than normal. Which again, as scientists, that gives me a lot of good data. And I know that the stream is going to be moving faster because again, I look at the past 24 hours. When I was out here earlier yesterday, it wasn't like this. This environment was much different. But like I was saying earlier, last night there was a storm that came through this area and it added a lot of water, changed the temperatures, and now we're seeing the impact of that weather here today.
Is called the Hula Hoop Station. Now this is actually a station you can recreate at home. You don't need a hula hoop. You can just trace out a circle. The idea is to find out what kinds of living beings exist out of the water. So your goal is to take a small garden trowel and use this space to find out what kind of ecosystem you have here. So I recommend just being gentle and doing a small area at a time because there's so many living things just below the surface. Like just here, it looks like it may be a hibernating roly-poly here, maybe, or just a wood chip. But as you start to dig through, you may find things like earthworms. You may find things like hibernating roly-polies and little grubs. There's an entire ecosystem of life that exists just below the surface that we're standing on. Now today it is a little cold out, so I'm not finding much here. But what I encourage you is get your parents' permission if you're going to do this activity at home, and take care not to dig too deep, and just ensure that you cover up very carefully whatever you exposed. The old Scout motto goes, "Leave no trace," and that certainly works for our environment out here at Eagle Creek too. I would want to pull this away with the idea that nobody even knew I was here. If they were walking down this trail, we wouldn't want them to know that we even came. You try it at home, boys and girls, with parent permission.